fully escape it, though? Like your name, for example, was mentioned in the Diddy case.
Which was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Because you barely know
This is the
right?
most ridiculous thing ever. But again, welcome to being a celebrity. Welcome to my world.
What happens when the cameras fade, the red carpets roll up, and the truth is the only thing left standing? Cuba Gooding Jr. never imagined he'd be here, under oath, in a courtroom, pulling back the velvet curtain on Diddy's darkest secrets. But when silence becomes complicity, someone has to speak.
We need to make these new allegations, Cuba.
God's will be done.
The room falls quiet as Cuba Gooding Jr. walks in, not with the confidence of a movie star, but with the weariness of a man who's carried secrets for far too long. I'm not here to protect anyone anymore. That sentence alone makes the courtroom lean forward.
This week, new accusations coming to light against Cuba Gooding Jr. The allegations come from a former producer for Combs, Rodney Jones. Now, it originally just listed Diddy as far as in grooming, but now Gooding is listed as a co-defendant, accusing him of as well. According to court filings, the alleged assault happened on a yacht rented by Combs that went to the U.S. Virgin Islands last January. Cuba Gooding Jr. has not commented on the lawsuit. Combs has denied the allegations against him.
This is no scripted performance. This is a man, raw and broken, about to drop truths no one's ready for. The prosecutor starts slow, asking about his early days with Diddy, yacht parties, networking mixers, industry dinners where the real action started once the cameras were gone.
Cuba Gooding Jr. was so close to that man. I would thought that was his lady. That's how close he was to him. And then his hands all on his leg and everything. It was crazy, bro. When you see Cuba Gooding fighting the case here in New York, when he said the girl was saying that he was groping her and everything like that, I'm glad they didn't show that picture.
Cuba's face tightens. He remembers it all. He made you feel like the most important person in the room, he says. But that charm, it always came with a price. Then comes the question no one wanted to ask, but everyone knew was coming. That infamous yacht night.
Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. finds himself named in a $30 million lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, brought forth by music producer Rodney "Lil Rod" Jones Jr. The suit levels serious allegations against Diddy, including sex and threats. But what about Gooding Jr.? He's being accused of with claims of inappropriate conduct on a yacht in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This isn't Gooding Jr.'s first encounter with such allegations. In fact, he settled a similar lawsuit back in 2023. As for Diddy, his lawyer dismisses the accusations as falsehoods, promising proof to refute them. Meanwhile, federal agents have raided 2 of Diddy's mansions in an ongoing investigation. Stay informed in this evolving story. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give a thumbs up if you found this informative, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in.
The one where Cuba says Diddy had a plan, and the plan's name was Lil Rod. I thought it was just a party, he says slowly. But then he said, I got something special for you. And suddenly, it didn't feel like a party anymore. He remembers Lil Rod, quiet, nervous, watching everything like he wanted to disappear. Diddy made him sit beside Cuba, told him to relax. I tried to talk to him, but he looked scared, like he didn't belong there. Not like that. I didn't touch him, Cuba says, raising his hand. I swear to God. Whatever Diddy was planning, I didn't play that game, but he wanted me to. And that night, I knew something was very wrong. Did you feel trapped? The prosecutor asks. Cuba doesn't even blink. Yes, God, yes. His voice trembles now, more emotion creeping in with every word. You don't say no to Sean Combs. He didn't need to threaten you. His eyes did the talking. He remembers getting up and leaving early that night. He didn't confront anyone, didn't yell, didn't ask questions. I've made mistakes, he admits. Plenty. But not that. Never that.
How did you find yourself in a scenario where dozens of women were accusing you of pleading guilty to forcible touching and settling lawsuits.
People feel that I'm accessible to them, so I come in contact with all kinds of people, from people who adore you, or people who are offended by you, people who feel you're aggressive. And you have to learn that as you walk on this path, you must stay neutral. When people interpret what's going on with you or what you're being exposed to, you have to make sure that you know your intention, and you have to be accountable for your own actions. And I have been, and I have been.
Then come the tears. He wipes his face with a tissue. His hand won't stop shaking. I was in the headlines for things I did. I owned those. I paid the price. But this wasn't me. I stayed quiet because I was scared, he says, but not anymore.
How do you fully escape it though? Like your name, for example, was mentioned in the Diddy case.
Which was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Because you barely know
This is the
right?
most ridiculous thing ever. But again, welcome to being a celebrity. Welcome to my world.
As the prosecutor moves on, Cuba opens up more. He talks about how his name got dragged into this circus, as he calls it. I thought I'd lose my mind. I worked my whole life. And now people think I was part of that madness. I want people to hear it from me, not a blog, not a whisper. Me, Dot. The prosecutor plays a clip, a recording from Lil Rod's deposition. The room listens to the description of that night. Cuba just stares ahead. When it ends, he clears his throat. If I ever made anyone feel uncomfortable, I'm sorry, but I didn't touch that. I didn't touch anyone at that party. And then he says what everyone's been thinking. If Sean's team wants to use me as a scapegoat now that the walls are closing in, they picked the wrong man. Now comes the part where the whispers turn into reality. Cuba begins describing the parties, the ones that didn't make the headlines. It started normal, he says. Red carpets, champagne, networking. Then something shifted. The invites changed. You couldn't just show up anymore. You had to have the right face, the right name. One time at his mansion in Miami, they took everyone's phones. That wasn't weird. But then, they handed out. He said it was a spa night, but inside, it felt like another world. His face drops. I know what people are going to say, that I'm saying all this now to save myself. But that's not it. I've already fallen. This isn't about redemption. He wipes his face again. This is about putting a stop to what's still happening. The prosecutor leans in. Did you ever see someone get hurt? Cuba stares down. I heard screams. I saw girls being rushed out the back doors. I didn't see anything with my own eyes, but I knew. We all knew. This wasn't just about bad choices or nights. This was about something far more calculated, more dangerous, and maybe even something that was never meant to be revealed. Did you ever see someone get hurt? The prosecutor repeated. Cuba's eyes dropped. No, not with my eyes, he whispered.
Cuba Gooding Jr. was so close to that man. I would thought that was his lady. That's how close he was to him. And then his hands all on his leg and everything. It was crazy, bro. When you see Cuba Gooding fighting a case here in New York, when he said the girl was saying that he was groping her and everything like that, I'm glad they didn't show that picture.
But I heard them. He describes the sounds, screams behind locked doors, women crying in rooms they were rushed out of, men leaving without speaking. Something was always off, but no one ever said anything out loud. I used to tell myself it wasn't my place, that I didn't know the full story. But truth is, I knew enough. He wipes his face again, this time slower. You walk into those parties, and you think, this is just how Hollywood is. But then, you realize, this ain't Hollywood. This is something else. Cuba's voice cracks. There were women who never came back, not once. I thought maybe they just didn't enjoy the scene. But now, I think they were silenced. Or worse, threatened. Why now? The prosecutor finally asks. Cuba doesn't hesitate. Because I have a son. His voice hardens, not angry, but tired. Like a man who's carried guilt so long, it fused with his spine. I know what happens when you say nothing. I know what silence does. It makes monsters bolder. He describes how, after his own scandals, people stopped calling, projects vanished, friends disappeared. But not Diddy. Sean still called, still invited me to parties. That made me wonder, why? Because he thought I'd protect him. Because he knew I was already ruined. Like I owed him. Then the prosecution drops a photo on the screen. It's from a 2013 trip to the Bahamas. Cuba and Diddy sit side by side smiling. In the background, blurred faces, barely clothed, some far too young. Cuba's eyes well up. I didn't know they were that young. No one asked. No one checked. We just smiled for the camera. That photo haunts me because I look like I'm having fun. And now I can't stop wondering how many people were suffering while we posed.
I mean, let's be frank, people who watch this interview, there are going to be some people who say that's another celebrity who is using faith to make a comeback from experiencing a scandal.
You can't please everybody all the time, but the people that are there to celebrate your artistry, that's my job, and that's my only mission in life.
There's one night I never talked about. One of those masked parties. Everyone signed NDAS before stepping in. People wore masks. Not for fashion, for secrecy. He talks about walking upstairs and hearing it. A scream. Not laughter, not music. A scream. I thought maybe it was part of the party. Then I saw a security guard slam a door shut, like his life depended on it. He asked what was going on. The man didn't blink. "This room's off limits, Mr. Gooding." Cuba chokes back emotion. I walked away. I didn't say anything to anyone. And that's what haunts me the most. I saw those same eyes, years later, on girls in the lawsuits. Same fear, same silence. And I stayed quiet. I thought, who'd believe me? I was already a mess, already guilty. But it wasn't just me. There were producers, athletes, actors, big names. They saw the same things, maybe worse, but no one spoke, just like I didn't. And that, he says, is the real sickness. Not just what happened, but the silence that followed it. Now comes the night that's haunted him the most. A party in the Hollywood Hills, supposed to be a birthday. No phones, no press, just masks and vibes. But something felt off. The staff started handing out masks, black and gold. They said it was themed, but inside, it felt like walking into something evil. I turned to leave, Cuba says. I wanted no part of that, but I looked too long. One of Diddy's security men stepped in front of him. "You didn't see anything, Gooding. That's the rule. You want to keep working, right?" I nodded. That's all I could do. I wasn't brave back then. I wanted to be, but I wasn't. He swallows hard. I know some people think I'm speaking now to clean up my image, but I don't care what they think.
Let's be frank, people who watch this interview, there are going to be some people who say that's another celebrity who is using faith to make a comeback from experiencing a scandal.
You can't please everybody all the time, but the people that are there to celebrate your artistry, that's my job, and that's my only mission in life.
Then his voice drops again. I saw people there that night. Celebrities, executives, people now denying they knew anything. They looked the other way. Just like I did. He closes his eyes. But I'm not doing that anymore. A second courtroom recess is called, but this time Cuba doesn't look shaken. He looks ready. He steps back up to the stand and grips it like it's the only thing keeping him steady. At a party in Vegas, he begins, I saw a girl being pulled down a hallway. I didn't know her. I didn't know her name. But I saw her eyes. She looked at me. Like she was begging me to do something, say something, and I did nothing. It keeps me up, every night. Not just her, but all of them. The ones no one helped. The prosecutor asks, "Did you ever tell anyone?" I tried once, Cuba says, called a lawyer friend in 2016, told him everything about the masks, the parties, the silence. But the advice was chilling. He said, "Drop it. The NDAs will bury you, and your past makes you too easy to discredit." So, he stayed quiet. Again. Until Cassie spoke. until Lil Rod came forward.
Lil Rod alleges Diddy was, quote, grooming him to pass him off to his friends. This fear became reality when Mr. Combs introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. when they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. There's actually photos of their interaction together too, which are laid out in those court documents. In the first pic, you see Diddy and Cuba talking with Diddy's arms on Cuba's. In the next pic, Cuba has his arm around Lil Rod and is smirking. Court docs go on to state, quote, Cuba Gooding Jr. began groping and Mr. Jones's legs, his near his the small of his back near his butt and his shoulders. He rejected his advances and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones.
That's when I realized I wasn't the only one losing sleep. And so, he reached out to prosecutors. Put me on the stand, he told them. Let me talk. Because maybe, just maybe, if someone had done that for that girl in Vegas, her story wouldn't be a memory soaked in shame. The prosecutor asks him, "What do you want the world to take away from this?" That silence is a chain, and I broke mine. You don't have to be perfect to speak out. You just have to be honest. You just have to be done with the lies. I hope you hear this, Sean. I hope you remember every name, every party you turned into a prison. Because we remember now, and the truth, it's louder than your money. I lost my career, my reputation, maybe even my soul, but I can still be a witness. I can still be a voice. And just like that, the strength in his voice fades. What comes next isn't rage. It's relief. I can't keep carrying it, he whispers. I can't keep pretending I didn't see what I saw. He stands and turns to the room. I'm sorry. To the women. To the ones I didn't save. To the people who thought I was better. The courtroom is frozen. Not in chaos, not in shock, but in the quiet that only comes when truth finally lands. The prosecutor nods once, softly. Thank you, Mr. Gooding. And just like that, they rest their case. No spin, no rebuttal. Just the raw, horrifying truth, laid bare by a man who once cheered, "Show me the money."
I went from one ship, Happy New Year. So I hung out with Tyson, and next ship, there's Drake. This ship had P. Diddy. He had his guy, his videographer. They're listening to music. And he says, "Hey, Cube, listen, you want to hear P. Diddy's new song?" I said, "Yeah, sure." Sit down next to him.
Next pic, Cuba has his arm around Lil Rod and is smirking.
The Oscar winner states that the picture of him hugging Lil Rod was taken completely out of context.
Here we are, just listening to music. Finished, took the thing off, said whatever I said to him, left. That was it.
As for his relationship with Diddy, Cuba Gooding Jr. also alleges that he's met Diddy only on 2 to 3 occasions.
We were acquaintances, just like I just showed you. 2-3 times I've seen him, so it's...
Oh, so Diddy, you've only seen him 2 or 3 times.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, he's showing the world something far more painful. A system that fed off silence. An industry that masked rot with fame. Outside, the headlines are already loading. Analysts are already talking. The public is already guessing what this means for Diddy, for Cuba, for Hollywood. But inside that courtroom, there is only stillness. And the sound of one man choosing, for the first time in a long time, to finally speak up. And just like that, the room emptied, but the echoes stayed behind. Cuba's testimony didn't just expose secrets, it exposed the cost of staying silent. The courtroom may close its doors, but the questions are just beginning. How many more know? How many stayed quiet? And when the next witness takes the stand, will the silence finally end?